Hello everyone, welcome back to the first chapter in ESAT M2 Advanced Algebra. In this chapter, we'll start with the laws of indices. We have gone through the laws of indices in chapter 1 of ESAT M1, but that was mostly for simplifying numbers and radicals. Here we will be looking into algebraic expressions. Although the laws of indices are the same, it's just rehashing the content and making sure that you are up to date with all the laws for algebraic simplification. So multiplication law, division, power of a power, fractional indices, negative indices, and the zero index. Now this zero index law, which says a to the power 0 is equal to 1, has a very simple proof. A to the power m divided by a to the power n, which is the division rule. Consider m is equal to n. If m is equal to n, then a to the power m divided by a to the power m, then a to the power m divided by a to the power m should be equal to a to the power m minus m according to the division rule. A to the power m divided by a to the power m is 1, and a to the power m minus m gives rise to a to the power 0. Hence, a to the power 0 is equal to 1 gets proved. Let us solve this question. Given that 2 to the power 3x minus 1 is equal to 4 to the power x plus 2, and 3 to the power 2y plus 1 is equal to 27 to the power y minus 1, where x and y are real numbers, please find the value of x plus y. So solve these two equations. Whenever you have an equation relating to indices, try to bring the base to the same number. So 2 and match 2 here, 3 and match 27 there. The solution is quite simple. Match the bases as I said, and you will get x is equal to 5. Match the basis of 3 and you end up with y is equal to 4. So x plus y becomes 9. Moving on, operations with surds. So remember, simplification operation with surds, if you have square root of ab, that can be written as root a into root b. This is only possible if both a and b are positive, and square root over a by b is equal to root a by root b. If you are rationalizing a surd, multiply both the numerator and denominator by the irrational part, and it should get rid of the irrational portion in the denominator. If you are rationalizing a conjugate surd, make sure to multiply it by its conjugate. With respect to rationalization, try solving this question. It is given that square root a plus square root b is equal to 5 and a minus b is equal to 5, where a and b are positive real numbers. With a greater than b, find the value of ab. We usually do not think of breaking down a minus b further into root a plus root b times root a minus root b using the a square minus b square formula. But if you follow that pattern, this problem becomes quite easy. So a minus b can be written as root a plus root b into root a minus root b. Root a plus root b is given to be 5, so 5 cancels out and you get root a minus root b is equal to 1. If you add these two, you will cancel root b and you will end up with 2 root a is equal to 6, which would give you a is equal to 9, because root a becomes 3 and you square it, a is 9. If a is 9, then b is 4 from this equation, and then you end up with ab is equal to 36, answer E. Okay, now we will have to do the theory of quadratic equations. Quadratic equation can be solved by factorization, which is the basic middle term that you learned in middle school. It is easy when the roots are rational. Completing the squares is used for optimization and identifying the vertices. In all other cases, you can use the quadratic formula. So the general quadratic equation is given as ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0. If I complete the square, I'll get a times x plus b by 2a whole square minus b square minus 4ac by 4a is equal to 0. This b square minus 4ac is the discriminant, right? So I can just write minus d by 4a is equal to 0. If I want to optimize the quadratic equation, that is find out the maximum and minimum points of it, I can not only use the completing the squares method, but since ESAT M2 allows you to use derivatives, we can go for that. So if I take the first derivative, I'll end up with 2ax plus b is equal to 0, which gives me x is equal to minus b by 2a. This provides me the location of the extrema. Now I do not yet know whether this is a maxima or a minima, so I'll take the second derivative. Using the second derivative test, I'll obtain the second derivative to be 2a. Now if a is less than 0, then this 2a will be less than 0, which means I'll have a maxima, and if a is greater than 0, 2a will be greater than 0, which means I'll have a minima, which tracks with the general idea of a parabola, because if a is greater than 0, the quadratic will be shaped upwards, two of its arms will be going off to infinity, so only the minimum exists at the vertex. Now this is the location of the extrema that we obtained. What is the value of the extrema? To figure that out, I can just plug in this value in the quadratic equation. After some simple algebra, you will end up with minus d by 4a. Remember, all of these had been calculated here. The location by the vertex form becomes minus b by 2a, and the maximum value becomes minus d by 4a. I just showed you that the same result from completing the squares can be approached via derivatives. In fact, it will make this calculation a bit faster. So overall, the vertex becomes minus b by 2a, minus d by 4a. We described the discriminant before as b square minus 4ac. The discriminant has a few properties. Let us look into those. If the discriminant is greater than 0, then the quadratic equation has two distinct real roots. If the discriminant is a perfect square, then the roots will be rational, else you will have irrational roots and they will occur in conjugate pairs. If discriminant is equal to 0, then you are going to have one root with multiplicity 2, that is equal roots. If discriminant is less than 0, then there are no real solutions or conjugate complex roots. If discriminant is less than 0 and a is greater than 0, then the parabola will be floating upwards without touching the x-axis, because touching or cutting the x-axis means a solution exists. If discriminant is less than 0 with a less than 0, then the parabola will be floating downwards without touching or cutting the x-axis. Try this question. The graphs of y is equal to x square plus 3x plus 5 and y is equal to mx plus 1 do not intersect for which values of m? So remember, if two curves intersect, there has to be at least one common point. So that means when I collect these two equations together, their combined quadratic equation should have no solution in order for them to not intersect. At the intersection, these two curves should be equal. Now this is an equation that denotes the supposed intersection. If I can show that this equation has no real solutions, that means there are no meeting points and I will be getting the condition that has to be imposed on m. So x squared plus 3 minus m times x plus 4 is equal to 0, you will get after simplification. So b square minus 4ac will yield 3 minus m whole square minus 4 times 4 is less than 0. You can take the square roots on both sides, which will yield modulus of 3 minus m less than 4. Here, make sure to take the modulus, don't just take the positive case. So this will lead to minus 4 less than 3 minus m less than 4 upon simplification. So you subtract 3 from it, multiply minus 1, you will end up with minus 1 less than m less than 7. In the next section, we will learn factor and remainder theorem. The factor theorem states that if x minus a is a factor of fx, then fa is equal to 0, and vice versa. That means if fa is equal to 0, then x minus a is a factor of fx. The factor theorem holds both ways. The remainder theorem says that the remainder when fx is divided by x minus a is given by f of a. If there are multiple linear factors dividing a, for example, if x minus a and x minus b divides fx, then fa is equal to 0 and fb is also equal to 0. Here is an example. Try this question. Fx is equal to x cube plus ax plus b. X minus 1 is a factor of fx and x minus 2 leaves a remainder of 3. Upon dividing fx, find a and b, hence fully factorizing fx. Now all of these questions have been taken from the official study materials on the UAT website. So that's why you will find some subjective questions. When these type of questions appear in your ESAT M2 exam, they will obviously give you options and stylize it to be an objective question. This was easy, right? So basically by factor theorem, f of 1 is equal to 0, which means a plus b is equal to minus 1. By remainder theorem, f2 is equal to 3, which means 8 plus 2a plus b is equal to 3. So solve these two equations, a plus b minus 1 and 2a plus b minus 5, and you end up with a is equal to minus 4 and b is equal to 3. So the original polynomial becomes x cube minus 4x plus 3. You know that x minus 1 is a factor, so if you can take that out, then by factor theorem, you will get this factorization. Okay, this polynomial won't be further factorized. From the first step to the factorization, you can also use synthetic division or normal division as you prefer, but just make sure that you are completing the sum within 90 seconds. We move on to polynomial division next. The division algorithm says fx is equal to qx times dx plus rx. Qx is the quotient, dx is the divisor, and rx is the remainder. This division will stop only when the degree of the remainder is less than the degree of divisor. This is the same as in numbers. So you only stop the division in numbers when the remainder is less than the divisor. For example, if you are dividing 26 by 5, you wouldn't take the quotient to be 4 and the remainder to be 6. That won't work because the remainder 6 is greater than the divisor. So you would take the quotient to be 5 and the remainder to be 1, which is correct because the remainder 1 is now less than the divisor 5. In polynomials, we cannot have greater than or less than without plugging in a value. So instead, we work on the degrees. Based on this, try this question. P of x is equal to 2x cube minus 5x squared plus x plus 7 is divided by x minus 2. Find the quotient and remainder. Verify your results using the remainder theorem. So this subjective question will give you the tour of all the related concepts of polynomial division, factor theorem, and remainder theorem. You can work this out on your own. I'll just give you the answer. P of x will be equal to x minus 2 into 2x squared minus x plus 1 plus 9. This is the polynomial written in the division algorithm format. So 9 will be the remainder, obviously. Alright, now inequalities. So linear inequalities are quite easy. Mostly you will find them with absolute value functions, but remember that they reverse inequality when multiplying or dividing by a negative number, and if you reciprocal both sides. Okay, for quadratic inequalities, factorize, sketch the number line, read the solution from the sign diagram. Okay, if there are rational functions, fx by gx greater than 0, this implies fx times gx is greater than 0, so use the sign diagram. Do not cross multiply this gx and eliminate it. That's not going to give you the correct answer. Try this question. This is a rational function, so bring 2 to the left hand side, take the LCM, and then get the critical points, draw the number line, and then read off the solution. So this becomes minus x minus 5 divided by x plus 1 is greater than 0. Solve it on the number line, you will end up with minus 5 less than x less than minus 1. The next portion is the properties of modulus function. How do we define the modulus function? The modulus function or the absolute value function is defined as mod x is equal to x if x is greater than or equals to 0 and minus x if x is less than 0. The equality sign can be placed here also, doesn't matter because 0 is neither positive nor negative. Look into a few pointers on solving these type of equations. Mod fx is equal to a means fx is equal to a or fx is equal to minus a. Mod fx less than a means minus a less than fx less than a for a positive. Mod fx greater than a means fx greater than a or fx less than minus a for a greater than 0. For a less than 0, just use the same thing, but make sure that you are adjusting the negative signs and breaking up the inequality as required. Mod fx is equal to mod gx implies fx is equal to gx or fx is equal to minus gx. On the basis of these properties, try this question. There are two ways of solving these questions. Either you eliminate the modulus sign by taking squares on both sides, which will make this problem a bit complicated because they are linear equations. Why bother transforming them into a quadratic? But that is a valid technique. If you prefer it that way, please proceed. If you prefer it that way, please follow whatever method you are comfortable with, as long as you can complete the sum in 90 seconds. I'll advise that you break this down into two cases and solve them separately. So case 1 is 2x minus 1 is equal to x plus 3, which gives me x plus 4. Case 2 is minus 2x minus 1 is equal to x plus 3, which gives me minus 2x plus 1 is equal to x plus 3, which gives me finally x is equal to minus 2/3. So basically I used this property. And as I said, you can use the whole square technique as well. It's not a problem. If you need help with any of the ESAT M1, M2 or TMA chapters, please book a one-to-one class with me using the links in the description. If you want more practice, check out the Amazon links in the description. I have attached a few sample problems from my book. So if you like them, go through the Amazon link and check out the listing. With that being said, I'll end my video here. Thank you all for joining, and I'll see you in the next chapter, which will be sequences and series.